Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me on this very important subject that could change your life: how to overcome insomnia and sleep deeply every night. As poor sleep, we know, will affect our health in many respects. This is a very important subject for you people who are not sleeping deeply all night. My name's Khabir Southwick, Ayurvedic doctor and Ayurvedic pharmacist in practice 27 years, providing Zoom appointments worldwide and mailing my herbal products worldwide. And I'm the founder of herbmanteas.com, the sponsor of today's talk. So let's talk first about the causes of insomnia, because there are causes that you are doing. So we can go through those, and you have to eliminate all these causes first. Of course, you can't treat a condition as long as the cause remains. And most people forget to treat the cause. It's funny how that goes. Kind of a denial thing in most cases, since here it's quite obvious, but not all the causes are obvious. Then we're going to talk about one of the bigger causes, stress. And two, we're going to give you some home remedies, things you can also do. Get rid of the causes, do the home remedies, and then finally just knock out with the herbs. So the herbs are different. Some will knock you out. Some will make you sleepy. Some will relax you. Some will keep you asleep. Some will get you asleep. So it's important to know which of these formulas does which. And all these products are available on our sponsor's website, which is available online at herbmanteas.com. So let's start with those causes. Number one cause is the very famous just one cup of coffee in the morning. Yep, that is the number one cause. And usually it's just one cup. I hear it all the time. Well, sometimes when I'm doing appointments on Zoom, I see the husband or the wife walking by, and I say to is that your husband? I go, oh, yes. And I go, oh, can I have a word with him? Oh, sure. Hey, husband, may I ask you just a simple question about your lovely wife and her insomnia? Oh, sure. What's that? How many cups of coffee does she usually have today? Well, at least 2 or 3. I've seen her drink it all day. Thank you very much. So there went your 1 cup of coffee. I've done that trick many times. And I don't know why it is. It's kind of like, when the policeman pulls you over and people are drunk, what do they say? Just one beer. And obviously the policeman knows you're drunk. It's the same. So, and it's also important to realize that there's a half-life of this caffeine in your blood. How long does it stay in your blood? And, it's at least staying in a couple days. So that's why people do coffee detoxes. And I do drink a lot of green tea every morning to get myself fired up for all my patients and my little herb factory. So I do a lot of green tea, but I try to avoid it on the weekends, particularly Sunday, because I think it really does kind of like get it out of your body. Now, I think caffeine isn't as green tea isn't as stimulating as coffee, so you don't get the jitters, you don't get the racing heart, and it doesn't seem to stay in the body as long. But if you're drinking 1 cup of coffee every day to get it out of your body, you probably have to take a break for about a week. So your 1 cup is actually accumulating. There's some people that say that caffeine can stay in you up to 5 or 6 days. If you're drinking a lot every day, it doesn't even have to be a lot. It could just be 1 cup a day, but it's accumulating because you didn't get all the caffeine out from the day before, and then you have another cup and another cup. And if you never miss a day every once in a while, which is why I don't have even my green tea on Sunday, you need that time to kind of just, get the caffeine out of your system, or your sleep can be poor. So that's really the number one cause, the famous 1 cup, just 1 cup of coffee. Now, some people are drinking 3 or 4 cups of coffee and they're still complaining about insomnia. Now, there's other things that I can give people, alternative, let's just say stimulants for fatigue. If they say, oh, I can't live without my coffee, that's probably like an adrenal burnout. And it's a vicious cycle too for people, because they can't sleep at night, so they're tired in the day. Then they take the coffee and the stimulants in the day, which, keeps them going so they can get through the job and pay the bills. But then, then they're lying in bed tossing and turning because they got so much caffeine pumping through them. So it does become a vicious cycle. So once you knock somebody out with the herbs, then you really changed the cycle. Many people have said, "Yeah, your herbs were like a lifesaver in the beginning, knocked me out, but now that I'm sleeping good, I'm not tired in the day. I'm not tired in the day. I don't do the coffee, and I don't do the coffee. I'm sleeping fine without your herbs." So I've heard that many times. So the herbs are tools. Now I've taken some of these sleeping herbs for 30 years. And my son, he's been taking some sleeping tea, his whole life since childhood. So they're not going to harm you. Many people, oh, I'm afraid to take it long term. Why are you afraid to take it? It's just a bunch of plants, and these plants have vitamins and minerals in them too. So you're getting vitamins and minerals by drinking teas, herbal teas over water. So there's all kinds of secondary benefits for taking herbal teas. So don't worry about taking these things long term. There are some herbs you don't want to, herbal formulas are not made to take long term, but these relaxing teas, sleeping tea, you can take them forever. So you got to get rid of the coffee, and that includes the green tea if you're a true insomniac. I'm not really an insomniac. It's just that some nights I'm not sleeping good, and those are the time probably because I just drank green tea all day long, even into the evening. See, I'm doing these webinars, and sometimes I'll just like drink my leftover green tea in the morning, which I have a little here. You can see at the bottom of the cup there. Of course, herbalists don't use tea balls, so you can just see all the leaves just floating down there. So, being a bad boy as I am, I'm drinking this green tea late at night just so I can deliver my webinar. If I drink too much, then and I have to take the herbal sleeping formula tonight to get to sleep. Otherwise, I won't. I've even got up at night and just went and made it. But hopefully, after doing this webinar, I won't forget to take my sleeping herbs tonight. And, it's a tool to make sure I can control my sleep. So if you're a real insomniac, you've got to stop the coffee, the green tea, the black tea. And if you're still tired in the day, then I have like an adrenal tea that's used for fatigue. So you can drink my adrenal tea with two adaptogens. Mushrooms isn't going to do it. This mushroom thing, it's just a real fad we got going around now where you're mixing up a bunch of mushrooms and having it with coffee. This mushroom coffee, and it's just a fad. It's kind of fading fad. They all fade. But I'm using, ashwagandha, tulsi, licorice, and a little alethro. And you could have a tea with that called adrenal tea. And I just give that to the people who swear, I can't sleep, I can't function without my coffee. Then they drink the adrenal tea in the day, which has no caffeine that keeps them going. And I have other ways to keep you going through nutrition, like superfoods and things like this, where it's just nutritional boost to kind of get you through the day and get you going. So there's other ways, even bee pollen. You can take some bee pollen in the morning to get you going. So there's other ways to kind of get your stamina going and get you going while you wean yourself off of your stimulants. But you really have to get rid of all stimulants. You ready, folks? I know this is going to be painful. I hate to tell you the bad news, but coffee, not just coffee is a stimulant, but the chocolate bean, which is not really a true bean, but anyway, he is a stimulant. He's kind of looks like a bean, acts like a bean, but he's really the seed of the fruit. But he's very stimulating and addictive. And of course, people put sugar in it. So you got to get off the chocolate. I've had people that, kind of were frustrated. They did an appointment with me, paid me the big bucks. And, they weren't even drinking coffee, but they were having chocolate. I removed the chocolate. I did the follow-up, said, how the sleeping herbs work? And they go, great. Once I stopped taking chocolate at night. I've had it happen more than once where, chocolate was the cause of their insomnia. Now, of course, chocolate is addictive, and it does have it's also aphrodisiac, so it has its values. And, so if you need an aphrodisiac for the evening, fellas, just don't tell them it's a stimulant and just give out the chocolate because, if that's what you're trying to achieve. And of course, aphrodisiacs are stimulants because you can't have any action if you're asleep. So, chocolate and sugar is a stimulant. So, chocolate and sugar is a very common addictive stimulant that people become addicted to. I mean, why do people say I love my chocolate? Because it's addictive. I mean, life is full of addictions. You have to addict yourself to good things. I'm addicted to my herbal teas. I'm addicted to my sleeping formulas. I just I take them everywhere with me because I feel more stressed not having them with me. So, I mean, okay, you could say I call it an addiction because I'm an herbalist and I'm not going to ever take any medicine. And, but I still want to get up. I still want to sleep. Sometimes I have to get up at 4 in the morning to catch a flight. And then I need to knock myself out at, 7 or 8 o'clock at night to make sure I get a good night's sleep and I'm waking up. And you have to have the herbs at that point because you're not going to normally go to sleep hours before you normally go to sleep. So you have to have the herbs. So it's not just for insomniacs. It could be just for people that just have to get up really early and have trouble getting to sleep the night they get up really early. I mean, herbal formulas are tools to help you to relax, sleep, get going, improve your memory. Of course, once you have a chronic health issue, then of course they can address and reverse these chronic health issues. And they're still just a tool. And they're not definitely not directly reversing hyperthyroidism, which we'll talk about. It's improving your thyroid function is what it's doing. It's addressing your nervous system. All these issues with insomnia and nervousness, overthinking, even hyperthyroidism, this all connected back to your nervous system. So everything we're talking about when we talk about herbs, we're going to be talking about addressing your nervous system. So we're not addressing the disease, we're addressing this, your nerves and your nervous system. So organs, or in this case, systems in the body is what we're addressing. So other cause that keeps people up at night, watching TV too late, stimulants, bright lights, um, coffee, chocolate. Maybe I'll think of a few more. There's a few more, but these are the big ones. And the green tea, the black tea, you know, sweets, all the sugar. And you can see it with a child. I mean, you ever give a child like a little candy bar, and the next thing you know, they're hyperactive, jumping up and down, and the next thing you know, they crashing and they're crying. Well, adults are going up and down too. We're just not jumping up and down and crying, but we're still going up and we're still going down. And that down, that's your blood sugar too. And when you hit the down, then you want more of the stimulant to get you back up. So I understand that this is a cycle and the cycle has to be broken. And once the cycle's broken, you don't need as many herbs to keep on going. And that's, again, what these formulas can do is break the cycle. There may be no other way to break the cycle but the herbal remedies. Once you're off of these and you've got rid of these causes, and you may need the herbs to a lesser degree, but I know people that have taken them their whole lives who are, can't live without some sleeping aids just because, usually this is the Vata type dominant person, Vata Prakriti, who's, light, thin, dry, cold, active, and often overthinking and worried a lot. They just need these throughout your whole life. I mean, it's just the way they were born, and they need, this is their little Achilles heel and their nervous system. And they need these herbs just to get through life. Nothing wrong with that. Nobody comes out perfect. We all need herbs for something because we're never perfect. So it's not, in a sense, we shouldn't even call it medicine. We just should call it assisting us. So what's the next big stressor that's keeping us from sleeping? Stress. That's right. Stress itself. So how do we change the stress? I mean, we have to, that's your lifestyle. Are you pushing yourself too much? Are you going to appointments too late? I see a lot of business people. They're already wealthy, already doing quite well, and then they're still stressing themselves, like buying a new company, trying to make more money, and have another venture, another product. They just keep going and keep going when they already have the money to get by. So wealthy people tend to be very stressed out. Of course, they have to worry about security too, because everybody's trying to rob them and cheat them. So you don't You don't wanna be too wealthy. Now, from what I see, the wealthy people are usually the most stressed people. The 2 extremes, you're too wealthy, then, you're all stressed out about everybody trying to steal your money, and you probably will lose money, and, that's stressing you out even though you have enough to eat and pay for your roof over your head. You're always risking money. People are always trying to cheat you and lie to you and steal from you. And you're always worried about your money, from what I could see. And then these rich people are very ambitious. So they're always got new projects going, new things going, and this creates more stress. So you got a lot of wealthy people. I saw a lot of wealthy people in Dubai. They're all in that category, stressed out, over rich. They're just too rich. It's just not healthy. Then the other extreme is you don't have enough money, but you're overspending. You're what my mother would say, spending above your means. Living above your means. You're going on a cruise when you don't have the money in the bank for the cruise, and you put it on a credit card, and you're not thinking, well, now it's going to take you a year, 2 years to pay back the credit card, so you've got 2 years of extra bills and stress. I see a lot of people do this with cars. I don't like any debt at all because I think peace of mind is more important than a fancy car. So I buy a used car and that's it. I'm done. Maybe that month it could have been a little tight, could have been a little painful, forking out some cash. But that's after that, I'm done. And I don't have to stress every month with a car payment. I've owned many businesses and I have the old car and all the staff have brand new cars with high payments. So you have to figure, some people keep the prestige looking good, they can't save any money at all. So they have to do the car loan, and all debt will stress you out. So, you know, don't borrow, don't stress, don't live beyond your means. And again, like my wise mother says, money in the bank is giving you a peace of mind. That's very, very important, and it's 100% true. When you have savings, the economy's not good, but you've got savings, you feel a sense of peace of mind. Well, other people are panicking, and then once you panic and stress out, then of course you don't sleep. Um, so this is a big cause. So you really have to kind of rethink your whole life, because stress not only affects your sleep, it can affect so many aspects of your health. I mean, if you have high blood pressure, your blood pressure could go much higher with your anxiety and your sleep. If you're not sleeping good, then your immunity's low. If your immunity's low, you could get flu, cold, and pneumonia, and you could end up dying from pneumonia. And you get the pneumonia because your immunity's weak, and your immunity's weak because you weren't sleeping well, and you weren't sleeping well because you were stressed out. That's why a lot of elderly people pass away at the end, particularly wealthy people, because they're only in their 50s and 60s, and they die from some heart attack because their life is just too stressful, and they tend to eat a lot of bad food in expensive restaurants, rich food. So you need to rethink through your life. And then the home remedies. Let's do a few home remedies here. Home remedies are very important. Um, eye mask or eye pillow. They're online. They're cheap, and they block out all the light. And you get a real soft one. Really, so don't buy the cheap plasticky ones. Buy the ones with a nice little cotton, cover, and you put those over your eyes, and really makes a difference. And of course, you should get rid of any bright lights, flashing lights, computers, electronics. Just get these right out of the bedroom. And of course, bright lights, which I have plenty of shining on me right now, has woke me right up. That's also keeping you awake. So candles don't keep you awake. So I've told this home remedy to people: use candles. And they say, wow, it really works. And of course, the problem is you put a little candle in your bedroom, and the candle and the flicker, they don't affect you adversely like the bright light. Now they know, of course, it's hitting your, stimulating your pituitary gland, and the serotonin's coming out instead of the melatonin, and then you're awake instead of sleeping. And there's also adrenal fatigue we didn't really talk about, where people get the second wind, and that's where you're really just burned out, addicted to coffee drinking, and then even you're not having coffee, you get this second wind at night. This is another subject. There are other causes, and hyperthyroid is another cause, which There are some conditions like hyperthyroidism that will also keep you asleep. But this still is related to the nervous system. Now, I have specialized herbs for hyperthyroidism, but you still have to take the sleeping herbs and take some of the products that we're talking about today. So, other home remedy, hot salt bath. Oh, very effective. Ambient music. So here's my home remedy package. You know, uh, Candle in the bathroom with ambient music and a salt bath. And you can put a little lavender oil, rose oil, in the bathtub, or some essential oil infuser in the room with some, passion flower, or some scent that helps you to sleep. So you've got the flickering candles, you've got the warm bath, you got the beautiful calming scent. And then in the bathtub, you could be drinking my relaxing tea. In fact, I have a story of a woman. She did an appointment with me, as many people do, just for insomnia. That's their only thing. Now, generally, they're having the famous just one cup of tea. So you get one cup of coffee. So you get rid of the one cup of coffee and the caffeine and the chocolate, and the sugar. These are always there. Um, and so apparently she did all that. That wasn't a problem. She knew this. Most people know it. They're just not doing it. And then I told her, you go take a bath with a candle and ambient music instead of the relaxing tea, like I would tell most people. I told her just have the sleeping tea in the bathtub. Um, in the bathtub, you're sipping the sleeping tea. You got the candle flickering. You got some really ambient, sleepy music going on in the background, and you're in that nice, warm, salty bath because of salt, magnesium sulfate. It helps all your muscles relax. And she told me later, I go, how'd it go with insomnia? Oh, and then I told her, put the sleeping formula. I gave her the strong version on your bed. So you drink the sleeping tea and do the bath. Then you have some ready to go on your nightstand. So right before you go to bed, you toss it in, kind of keep you to sleep. And so I ask her, how'd it go? She goes, oh, yeah, I'm just knocking out every night. And I go, well, how'd it go? And she goes, well, I did what you said. I stopped the coffee the first day and the sugar and the chocolate, did the hot salt bath, and with ambient music and a little candlelight, and I drank your sleeping tea in the bath. She said, I was so tired, even in the bathtub. I had to crawl out. She crawled out. She said, I barely dried off. I wrapped the towel around me and crawled on her hands and knees to her bedroom or her bed. And then she went to the nightstand, being such a good, compliant patient, even though it seemed like she was already pretty tired, and slammed down some of the sleeping formula, which is what I told her to do to keep her asleep, because the formula is a little bit slower acting than the tea, and I wanted to keep her asleep with the two punch. And I asked her what happened, and she said, I woke up butt naked nude on top of my bed early in the morning, like 4 or 5 in the morning. I said, well, maybe you don't want to have the sleeping tea in the bathtub. Maybe just do the relaxing tea in the bathtub. So she changed it up, and that's it. So, and after a while, she didn't even need all of that to get to sleep. A lot of people stick with a little home remedy, like take the little salt bath and have a little relaxing tea, and that's sometimes good, or take a little salt bath, then go, take some of the sleeping herbs with the eye pillow on, and that's enough for them. After you get sleeping and you get off of all these stimulants, then, you can use herbs to the degree that you need to use them to keep yourself asleep. Because just like good digestion, good elimination, sleep is one of the essential necessities for good health. I mean, people come to me with a lot of serious health issues, high blood pressure, diabetes, arthritis, and cancer, etc. And I always have to treat their digestion, their elimination, and their sleep. Because if any of those three are off, then they're not going to recover from the other condition. So if you're not sleeping good, you're going to be weak. You're going to be susceptible to infections. Your immunity is going to be low, and your whole health is going to deteriorate if you're not sleeping. Now, there are other causes of poor sleep, like nocturnal urination, and I've given webinars and talks on that. and there are many causes, one of them being coffee being such a strong diuretic. And we do have some herbal products for that, including bladder control tea. So there are other causes like nocturnal urination, and that if that's a cause, that has to be treated separately, separate subject. So, so first step, get rid of all those bad habits, the coffee, the stimulants, the sugar, and then add in some home remedies like the ambient music, no TV at night, candles, hot bath, eye pellet, and no electronics in the bedroom. So that's if you do those two things, you're really over halfway there. All you need at this point is the herbs to kind of finish off the job and get you to sleep and keep you asleep. So uh, now, if we look at, oopsie, now if we look at a few products here, um, there we go. Let's share the screen here. Sorry, I missed that one. Okay. Says take a look on our sponsor's website, Herb Man Teas, and you want to go to nervous system. This is what we're treating. It's all broken down on the website by systems, allergy, brain health, colon health, detoxification, digestion, fatigue, female health, cardiovascular system. But this is nervous system. So there's a lot of products here. And most of these will probably help you. To sleep. Some of them are specific for like Parkinson's and tremors and headaches and nerve damage. And some of them are very specific. But today we want to cover the ones that are specifically mental stability ghee for OCD, brain ghee for ADHD. These are all specialized, but they're all for treating your nervous system. We have a sleeping package here now, by the way. So, but let's look at some of these products and how I would treat somebody. And that would be, first, I'm going to give anybody who can't sleep relaxing tea. And I'll tell them to start drinking the relax. If they have stress in the day, to drink the relaxing tea during the day. And then at night and right into the evening, right up until and sometimes this is enough for some people. If, like for me, if I drink a cup of relaxing tea in the early evening, that will pretty much do me in. So it doesn't just relieve you from anxiety. It helps to reduce your stress, even if you're living a stressful life, and definitely will help improve your sleep. But true insomniacs need a little bit more than this. But this is, helping to treat the nervous system. You got the lemon balm from the mint family, which is a mild nervine. Passion flower, probably the most important herb in here. So if you were to pick some kind of single herb that you were going to do, you could do passion flower. Catnip too. Catnip also kind of not so much of a sedative. Motherwort, they use it for high blood pressure, circulation, nerves. Very good for racing heart. Oat straw is not going to necessarily make you sleepy or tired, but it supports your nervous system and it helps with that myelin sheath. And we use it in nerve repair treatments as well, like Parkinson's, where there's damage. And then lavender just gives it that wonderful smell. It helps you relax just by inhaling the tea. Kind of a little, aromatherapy going on there. Rosemary to just get the herbs to circulate throughout the body. Same with cinnamon, helping with the taste, making it a little sweet and getting it to, your nervous system. Because if you have poor circulation, which would be clear by cold hands and feet, you may not be getting these herbs up to your brain and circulating well. So rosemary and cinnamon help in that area. And rose petals, again, gives it that aroma, that nice taste. And it's kind of like aromatherapy. Very pleasant tasting, very good tasting, doesn't make you sleepy. I never would use chamomile or a sedative in a relaxing tea. A lot of people kind of cheat and try to put in some chamomile, but that's a sedative and that'll make you a little yawning in the daytime. So that's not good. Just leaving a beautiful tea there. Beautiful tea. That's the oat straw. It's the rose petals, obviously. So you could drink a couple cups of that in the day to kind of help support the nervous system and unwind. That's a good start. And of course, maybe even just at least one cup in the evening. It's a case by case. And then after that, we got the very famous top seller knockout sleeping tea. Now here we're gonna see the more sedative herbs. Again, we're using a base of lemon balm. Lemon balm by itself is maybe make a child sleepy, but not an adult, because it's very mild, nervine, but it's still considered a nervine. So it's the base supporting your nervous system. So that's why it says calms the nerves, induces sleep. Doesn't necessarily keep you asleep because all teas kind of are only a little bit short term in their action. Um, Now you get catnip again. It was in the relaxing teas. It's more again for the nervous system. It's not going to really knock you out, but here's the strong ones to not chamomile, of course, is make you yawn and sleepy. It's a sedative, but the real strong ones that really make this formula the true knockout tea, top seller on Amazon, top seller on eBay, and was a top seller on Etsy until they threw me off. The poppy seeds, hops, and a little bit of valerian. See, sometimes people take too much valerian and they have a bad, impression of it. You should never give out in valerian all by itself. It's too heavy. You're gonna feel groggy in the morning. I think there's only 5% valerian in there, and it tastes terrible too. So the really, important ones here are the poppy seeds and hops too. You can't take too much because that's what they make beer from, and it can make you groggy in the morning. So that's why you spread out these sedatives between and poppy seed, of course. Um, you know, Coming from the poppy plant, we know that that can be a heavy sedative. But if you use too much of one, is not as effective. You may get if you use a lot of valerian or hops or even poppy seeds that you relied on. A lot of amateur herbalists, they do what's called the kitchen sink approach, where they just go online and Google everything that makes you sleepy and just throw it in one formula. There's no holistic thinking of the formula. And you can see I put in herbs just to smell nice. I put in herbs for circulation. I put supportive herbs. But the key knocker outers here are the pops and poppy seed and valerian. And like I was saying, by having three of them and just a little bit of each one, just maybe 5 or maximum 10% of each of those three, you get a nice sedative feeling without the heavy groggy in the morning, which is, the more amateur approach. And licorice is an adaptogen. So, and it kind of a catalyst as well, makes all the herbs work as well. And to kind of like ashwagandha or tulsi or other true adaptogens, they kind of help the body to, sense, calm the adrenals down, help manage cortisol levels. And they also, so licorice is one of the top adaptogens. And no, it will not make you raise your blood pressure, which a lot of people falsely believe. And then we got the lavender again for the scent, the smell, the rose petals for the scent, the smell, the aromatherapy effect. I've had people say that once they start drinking the tea and they have it every night, both this relaxing tea and sleeping tea, that they can just smell it and make themselves sleepy. So the body gets trained by, it's so used to the sleepy tea making them asleep. They don't even have to drink it. They said, when I first started, I would have to use 3 or 4 teaspoons and gulp it down, and then it would work. But now I can just smell it, take a couple sips, and pass out. It's like you kind of train the body. It's like, this is proven by psychiatrists and psychologists that, certain things the body can learn from, cues. And I think that's what happens. So don't underestimate the power of, putting in scents like rose petals and lavender to just make it taste pleasant and, give you a little bit of aromatherapy. And you can see those organic rose petals in there that we bring from Iran. So, another thing just about herbs, a lot of people don't realize, one herb can come from multiple places. So when we're purchased, people say, oh, well, I tried that herb. I said, well, where did it come from? And they don't even know. Well, if you're an herbalist, that's really the secret of getting good formulas. Like the rose petals, anybody, a herbalist knows the Iranians got the best rose petals. So we want our rose petals from Iran. And of course, there's different types of roses too. So, rose petals as a label is really kind of misleading. And the French, they got the best chamomile. And, those Afghanis, they got the best poppy seed. You know what I mean? So very, very effective. Now, teas are light. This is, we're going step at a time here. Now, they don't sometimes keep you asleep. They kind of knock you out, which is the name of the formula, knock you out, but doesn't say keeps you asleep. Generally because they're short acting. Teas are a little bit lighter. They hit the body quick and they're out of the system fast too. They get in the bloodstream and then they could be gone in a couple hours. And then some people, they'll wake up. Some people, this is enough. As long as I do the knockout, which will stop you from thinking, then I'm good to go. Some people, they knock out and then they wake up because then they need the formula. The formulas are much better. And if you really had to pick one over the other, you're best to just take the formula. I mean, formulas are much more powerful, particularly these Ayurvedic formulas. They're more sophisticated. They're just taking the herb in powder form is much more effective. Um, and this one says right there, puts you asleep and keeps you asleep. But I often do the 2-punch approach. I tell people, maybe or 3-punch, a little relaxing tea in the day, kind of start, you know, calming you down. You feel more calm. Your spouses notice right away you're more calm. That's a good sign. Then you do a sleeping tea about an hour before bed or 30 minutes before bed. And then right before bed, you throw down a teaspoon of one of these formulas, which I'm going to show you. And some people, they say, hey, I just got a teaspoon of this formula, mix it in with my sleeping tea or even the relaxing tea and slugged it down and just knocked out, didn't hear nothing, didn't notice anything till my alarm went off in the morning. So, different people are different, but I usually give the relaxing tea, the sleeping tea, and then one of these formulas if it's really a insomniac case. Now, there are a few of these formulas. This one is the Vata version. So this person is cold, has a cold body temperature, usually thin, overthinking. And it says you can take a dose right before bed and you can take another dose right at bed or even leave some on the side of the bed if you wake up to get yourself back asleep. But this is for a cold person who has cold hands and feet, not a warm person. So if you're a warm, hot person, and we didn't mention it earlier, but even those hot, warm people, I can get warm and stuffy at night. And if I do, I have to turn on the AC, but and that helps me sleep better. Some people don't sleep good with the AC and because they're already cold and they need a warmer room. And this formula. But if you're one of these people, excuse me, if you're one of these people that are warm at night, like myself, then you don't want a warming substance, or this will keep you up. So a lot of times I got husbands and wife where maybe the wife's cold and the husband's warm, and then they need different formulas. So here is the warming one. It says sleeping tonic. As it says right there on the top, sleeping tonic, cooling. And you can go read about it. But this is for the person, makes you sleepy, keeps you asleep, pacifies sleeplessness due to excess heat, which in Ayurveda is called pitta. And a lot of pitta people, they have what's called interrupted sleep. Well, the vata type of person, they're just overthinking and can't get to sleep. But pitta people can have interrupted sleep, particularly if they feel a little hot and stuffy. So this is the one that I use, and most of these products do come also in capsules. So that's the one I take, and it is cooling. All the herbs are cooling, except for the tagar, which is a little warming, but it's last in there. And it has taruni. Taruni means rose petals, and mutipishti means powder of pearls. That's right. So all cool, which is very cooling and relaxing. And then there's brahmi to cool your mind. So it's a completely different formula. There's many ways to, make it a sleeping formula. So, and then we have one more, which is the strong one, and it's usually when I'm doing the appointment, I pick which one we call it. It's the same as the first one. We call it the plus. And I actually don't sell it that much. I know most people would rather have something strong in their minds. Give me your strongest ones, but I don't sell it as much. Usually if the first one, they tell me, oh, I took your sleeping tonic, but I had to take 2-3 teaspoons. Then I give them this one so they can just take 1 teaspoon, but it's pretty rare. if you get rid of the causes, you take a bath, a little relaxing music, take the sleeping tea, and take one of your formulas. So I rarely give this out first. It's usually my backup. Most people don't realize if something I give you doesn't work, I have something more strong or, maybe in a different, maybe a completely different formula. So this is usually my backup, but online people tend to buy it because that's their mentality. Get something strong. You're probably getting more bang for your buck because you just don't need as much of the herb to get you to sleep. I mean, you may be able to get to sleep with a half a teaspoon of this. And you see it says with warm milk, milk. I put the milk substitute there because so many people are freaked out about milk. But I take it in milk. Milk is also cooling. And, they were giving milk with a little pinch of nutmeg to children for thousands of years. I think there's a little bit of no, I think there's a little. I thought there was a little nutmeg in that sleeping formula, but I guess not. Okay, so that's the strong one. And what else we got? Oh, sleeping oil. Now, most people, I just give it for children. It works very well for children. You just massage it on their feet. You can give it even to a baby, just massage it on their feet. But, so some even teenage children, you could massage their feet with the sleeping oil. It's not like the main treatment unless you're dealing with a baby or an infant. Then it could be the way to get them asleep. But in this case, it's like a secondary supportive for most adults. I'll ask the wife, will your husband massage your feet? Oh, yes, he's a good husband. Or no way, he'll never do it. But if I get the yes, you got a good one, then I say, "Oh, good, just warm up this oil, lie in bed, and ask hubby to massage this on your feet." And tell him it only works if the husband does the massage. It doesn't work if you do it yourself. So, that has been helpful to people, but I mostly only give it out professionally to children because the other products will do it. And then we have few essential oils. Again, I don't usually sell them much because essential oils are quite weak. You just kind of get the scent. And people sometimes think that they're going to cure their insomnia with some essential oil. But there you go. You can put a little in the bath like that. You can inhale it. You can put it in an infuser like that. And it helps. These are supportive. The oil, the essential oil, these are all supportive. They're not the main treatment. The main treatment is the formula. The formulas are always the center of the treatment. And then, a little relaxing tea is a supportive. Sleeping tea plus sleeping formula gives you the strong double punch to make sure they get to sleep. And then I may throw in an oil or something. I usually, if somebody's coming to me with insomnia, I'm just going to give them 3 products: relaxing tea, sleeping tea, and sleeping formula, or maybe an oil. I could give you even 4 products to just make sure you get to sleep because I'm getting paid the big bucks. I'd rather, throw in 4 products and just see what sticks. And in the next appointment, some people will say, "Oh, I really love that oil. I can't believe how much it helps." And then, "Oh, I love the essential oil. It really helps." And other people go, "Nah, I don't need the essential oil. Just give me that sleeping formula. That's all I need. That's just the sleeping formula is all I need." Okay, so that's great, but at least you have the tools. You have maybe sometimes you need the sleeping tea. You still could use essential oil in a bath. You know, um, you could use it for other people. So that's the way I roll, so to speak. If so, professionally, I got to get you to sleep to get the job done because I'm being paid to get you to sleep. So I'll send you 3 or 4 products. And we do have a sleeping package now, so which has like 3 products in it. Now, we'll just briefly mention here a few other causes like hyperthyroidism. And this you can usually get from your blood work. You can tell that your TSA or thyroid stimulating hormone is just like over cranked up, and that is your cause. So here you can see we're treating your thyroid gland, your adrenals, and your nervous system. So you can't do this with a tea. You need these more complex Ayurvedic formulas if you're truly diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. But if you understood these herbs, you could see, like Kancharguglu, this is a formula it's used to treat your thyroid. Same formula is used for hypothyroid. But we have these calming herbs like Shankapushpi, adrenal herbs like ashwagandha, so there's even Bumamalaki, known for the liver. It's this, quite broad bunch of herbs here. You'd have to be quite good to understand them. But these are all ancient formulas. They've been used for a long time. Millions of Ayurvedic doctors are using these. I'm just reproducing them by hand by buying all the individual herbs and making them. So that is one cause. And then I did mention um, the kidney issue. This is very common. People tend to, believe that these health issues like arthritis, poor memory are part of aging or urinating at night. But you're doing it. There's causes. Again, it's usually the coffee, but there is the bladder control tea, and this helps with nighttime urination and incontinence. And it's kind of funny because you drink it before bed, and most people who have this, they don't really solve the problem. They just stop drinking liquids after 6 o'clock, which isn't helping improve your kidney function. In fact, it could make it worse because you're not drinking enough liquids. Argamoni, most people don't even know this herb. This is an Eastern European herb, but extremely astringent and probably the key herb in the formula. Red raspberry is the best we can do with Western herbs, but argamoni, which we get from Eastern Europe, is the key ingredient there. And corn silk and St. John's wort, also astringent. Corn silk is, soothing the bladder. Little nettles, very, very mild diuretic. There's only like a couple percent in there. It's kind of supportive. Because if you do too much nettle, it will make you urinate. And usually I have to combine that with, if the urination at night is the main issue, I usually give them this one here, this kidney bladder detox in the day to flush out the bladder, reduce the frequent urination in the day, and help to get rid of that nighttime urination. Now, this one is a strong diuretic. So every one in there is a nettle diuretic, parsley diuretic, horsetail diuretic, tribulus, also called gokshura diuretic, ursi is like a anti-inflammatory, kind of like a antibiotic for urinary tract infections. It's in the UTIT as the main ingredients, but here it's just in there a little bit to kind of disinfect and get rid of little infections. And there's some dandelion leaf in there as well. So that one I give them in the day just to flush them out, and then I give them the bladder control tea at night to get rid of this nocturnal urination, because that is a common cause of insomnia. So there's other secondary causes, but the main one is usually your overstimulation, your coffee, your chocolate, and your sugar. But I can't emphasize enough how important it is to get yourself asleep. I mean, if you have to take these for the rest of your life, that's fine, because it's going to adversely affect your health to not be sleeping good. And you don't feel good the next day. You don't feel happy the next day, and you're more likely to go jump on some stimulants to get through the day. And then you get in this vicious cycle of stimulants in the day, poor sleep at night, and then, sleepy in the day because you didn't sleep at night, back on the stimulants again. And this can go on for decades. And it really can stress you out and weaken you and make you more susceptible for other major health issues. So you really have to resolve the sleep issue. And the herbs are just the easiest way to do it. I mean, they're cheap and they're easy. So that's the beauty of it, and they're safe for long-term use. And many of these that I showed you, I've people who've come to me to get off of their sleeping medicine. They've been effective. You have to do it gradually, get used to the herbs and then kind of wean off the medication and start taking the herbs in a replacement. In fact, a lot of people just move their dependence from the medication over to the herb, but at least the herb is safe. It's not going to create the type of real harmful dependence that a medication was. And of course, it doesn't harm your liver, which all medication does, including Tylenol. And many of these medications can damage your kidney functions too, particularly high blood pressure medication. So, and strong diuretics. So, this is very safe for long term. And people have been using these for tens of thousands of years. That's right. And many of the formulas you see here, if you're a good herbalist, you will see I'm very traditional. I'm not Googling a bunch of herbs and just throwing them in a package. A lot of these herbs are very traditional formulas, particularly Ayurvedic ones. You can see I'm not mixing too much Ayurvedic herbs and Western herbs together because these formulas already exist in books. I don't find them so much on the internet. Internet is, got 10 herbs to make you sleepy. That's not the way you make a formula. No, that's the amateur approach. That's the research and think you're going to solve the problem approach. No, there's already existing formulas. In this case, you have me with already me putting my existing formulas online for you. These are proven formulas that, are already proven over time. Some of these have dozens of testimonials swearing it's the best. It changed their life and work better than anything, and they will always continue to keep taking them. So, don't be afraid of herbs. I don't know why people would take 3 or 4 meds and then they're scared to take an herb. This is all the conditioning that's taken place over the years, of course, supported by the pharmaceutical company to brainwash the population into believing that, herbs are harmful when it's their own medication, which we need to be concerned about. So, particularly when it comes to anxiety and sleep, it's very easy to treat yourself using herbal remedies. Very easy. Even people who don't change their lifestyle much, I've had wealthy people and they said, well, I got to get up in the morning. I have a lot of meetings. I'm really busy. I can't, their life isn't changing, but they just drink the relaxing tea all day or take a calming formula all day and take the sleeping formula every single night. And hopefully, maybe in a few years, they can change their life and they won't, and then maybe when they retire, they won't need it. I remember one woman up in Michigan. I knew her almost 20 years. She was taking my adrenal tea, relaxing tea, sleeping products. Like it went on for years. And then I don't know, she disappeared for a little while. She did an appointment. I noticed I hadn't seen her for 2 years. And I said, what happened? She says, simple. I retired. So the whole time, it was her job. I think it was a legal profession. So her whole job, she was taking the herbs for 20 years because her job was the cause. The day she retired, she started sleeping again and she never needed all those herbs. And that's why she didn't call me. Of course, she had some new problems. So she called me for something else. We had a big chuckle about it because, we had talked many times about, changing her life, changing her lifestyle, not being so pressured all the time. But I guess that was her profession. She had to keep going. I don't know the details, but she was pretty surprised, how quickly she was relaxed and no longer needed the relaxing tea, sleeping tea, adrenal tea, and sleeping formulas, which she had been taking for nearly 20 years once she retired. And within a week or two, she was sleeping fine. So lifestyle is the number one cause besides the 1 cup of coffee in the day. So really consider what is more important for you, your stressful life, your stressful job, your stressful relationships, your stressful, whatever you're doing that is stressful. Is that more important to you than your health? I mean, you may have to make those choices. I personally have made this choice many times. And that's one reason I now live in the countryside. Sure, I lived in a big city. I could make more money. I could have more patients coming here. And I definitely could make more money in big cities. And I've definitely made a lot of money in big cities, including New York and LA and Abu Dhabi and Paris and Dubai. I've gone to these cities and spoke and did a lot of appointments. And big cities are great for when you're young and you're trying to get going. But, I don't want to do that forever. I'd rather have be less busy, less clients, and have more of a relaxing, slow-paced life. So I moved in the middle of nowhere in the countryside. And not only do I have the fresh air, fresh water, no pollution, and clear skies, but I also have a slower paced life, slower paced neighbors, no traffic, no stress. And it makes a big difference. Big difference. You feel better. You feel better. So I feel, in a way, better and more relaxed than I did 20 years ago, where I was flying around the world and living a much more stressful life. So I hope this motivated you to change your lifestyle, get rid of your bad habits, and take a few herbs and get yourself to sleep so you can overcome your insomnia and sleep deeply every night. And of course, if you have any trouble and you want a little motivation, you want my picks, then please do an appointment by going to my website, khabirsclinic.com. That's KHABIR sclinic.com, and book an appointment. And then I will diagnose your causes, motivate you to change your life and remove all these causes and pick the right herbal products for you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you the best of health, happiness, digestion, and good sleep. Thank you.